Hi guys, it's Saturday again, and that means another video. Not a very long one this time. It's mostly going to be an update video about Castlevania 3 because we are only about 3 weeks away. Remember, I am launching the game on Halloween, and I just wanted to tell everyone that the game is actually finished right now. Okay, but don't get too excited because I want to use the extra time to make sure that me and the people who I have who are playtesting it right now try to make it as solid as possible. So far, I've been getting really positive feedback from the work that they were doing. So the last things that I completed in the actual game was the boss. We'll start with the boss rush mode, and then I'll talk about a couple of other things. The boss rush mode was a really cool idea that was brought to me by a fan of the game. You know who you are. Thank you very much for that idea. I implemented it into the game. It is very neat. There is basically a war room or a weapons room that's got some candles in it and a pillar that you can hit so that you always get life, so you will always get some form of healing yourself after every single boss battle, or else I think that it would be too challenging to try and fight, like, I believe there's like 18 or 19 bosses all together on one life bar. Of course, you will automatically start off with all 4 characters, and in the candles you will find hearts for your weapons, and you will find one of each weapon in the first 4 candles. And every single time that you defeat a boss, it will say round 1, round 2, round 3, which round you're on, and what boss you're on. Those candles will always basically regenerate themselves. It's the only way I can think of. They will respawn themselves. So it won't be like a one-time effect. You kill the candles and then you kill the first boss and then those candles aren't there anymore. Now, I made sure that all those candles respawn and the meat respawns as well. Now, another cool thing that I added to it was I added a timer at the top of the screen so that you can time yourself going through, which gives it another kind of like challenge or replay value to it. And at the end, it will show the top times. One will be from me, the creator, and others will be from the people who have tested the game or close friends of mine who actually played the game ahead of time, and I've told them to tell me what their best time was going through, completely through, and then you guys can try to compare your times to basically the top times of that leaderboard. And if anyone actually plays the game and streams it, or maybe comes out with some kind of challenge, you know, speedrun challenges that people always love to do, at least there you don't need some kind of an optional timer program or app or something like that to record your, well, not record your best time, but to show your best time. I just built it right in, so it's nice and convenient, and it worked out really good. Lots of people say that it's really fun, challenging, and they love that extra aspect that I added to the game. The second to last thing that I completed, or second to third last thing, I don't know, I've lost count, but another thing that I added at the end, and one of the last things I worked on, was implementing the keyboard controls into the game automatically. That way, how do I explain it? Let me start from the beginning, because before, when I was trying to put in really complex controls in some of my games later on, some of my early games, you could put in keyboard controls and controller controls at the same time. You didn't have to switch between the two. They would both operate at the same time. But when I started to get into more complex game controls, it didn't work, and they would conflict. It's really hard to explain how, but it's sort of like if the down button, like ducking for instance, if the down on the D-pad, it has been released, but you also have that as being released on the keyboard at the same time. See what I'm saying? They conflict. That's the only way I can think of to describe it without getting too technical. They cause glitches. So what I did was I made a separate file. Like when I basically rendered the whole game out, I had 2 different versions of the game. So you would have the control version and then the keyboard version, and they would be 2 separate altogether. Then after a while, when I started practicing with it and messing with it a little bit more, I kind of put all of the controls into like one folder, and I put all of the keyboard controls into another folder in the exact same, still in the engine. Okay, I'm trying not to get too technical here. Stay with me on this though. So you got two folders, one with all the controller controls in it and all the one with the keyboard controls in it. And then on the menu, I make it so you can select what controls you want. And what that's doing is it's basically turning on one of the folders to be completely on, filled with all the code of all the controls for, say, the controller. And then if you switch it to keyboard, it turns the controller file off, and then it turns the keyboard file on, which has got all of the keyboard controls in that one file folder. Does that make sense? Sorry if you can't follow me on that one, but that was the best way that I could think of to do it, so that the controls don't conflict and you don't have to have two separate games, files, whatever you want to call them, two actual completed games, but both with different controls. And that's how I have been implementing both the controls in the game at the same time. Yes, you still do have to select what controls that you want at the beginning, at the title menu, but I think that that's such a small inconvenience than having actual two separate games with different types of control schemes. And then lastly, the final thing that I want to show you is I worked really hard on it myself. Again, I did not have somebody do this for me. I've done all of the case artworks on all of my games myself, and I think this one came out one of the best of all of them. I actually found the artwork for Castlevania Dracula's Curse, and I don't mean just the box artwork from the NES version, I mean the actual artwork itself, with nothing kind of in the way of it. Like there are things on the boxes, logos and whatever, that are always interfering with the art, but I actually found the real full art that was basically unmolested, and I started working with that as my box cover art, and I think it looks even better than the original NES box artwork. You know, not to toot my own horn, but it came out fantastic. I mean, look at these examples that I'm showing you here of how it looks, how the disc looks, how the box insert looks. I think it came together just absolutely phenomenal. Now, I didn't want to put Revitalized on the front of the case because any way that I tried to put it in there, it just didn't look right. It didn't blend well. I wanted a really clean look on the front of just Castlevania III Dracula's Curse. It looks great. And then on the back, I wrote the Revitalized. I had a little space there. There was a little gray space you can see that was kind of empty. And I go, well, Seth gave me the idea too. He goes, why don't you just put a little Revitalized there on the back? And I go, yeah, there's a little space for that. I was thinking of that ahead of time anyway. And I put it on there, and that looks pretty good on the back. And you can see also the pictures of the actual gameplay on the back. And it does mimic the NES back. Description of the game is its complete replication of the NES box at that point, except that if you read it very, very carefully, this time it actually says how many stages I have as opposed to how many possible stages were in the original one. So it actually says 14 back there, which is how many stages that there are in my version. So I thought that was pretty neat, and you know, you might find some other little Easter eggs in there somewhere, but it came out great. I can't wait to release the game. It's gonna blow your mind, it really is. And then after that, I really want to start marketing the game big time. Like I have to just go through, I guess, a whole bunch of random people who play retro games here on YouTube or whatever, and I just want to send the copies out to everyone to not just review the game, but to play the game and everything like that, because there's going to be a lot of people out there. It's really hard for me to actually get the word out that this game actually exists. And I mean, you guys can help as best you can and contact as many people as you can if you know anybody, but I think the responsibility solely rests upon me to get that part done. So I've got to send it out. I've got to try and just reach out. You just try and get the contact information as best you can on YouTube or Instagram, Facebook, wherever I possibly can find it, and then reach out to them, and whether or not they get back to me is totally up to them. And I'll send them out a game, and hopefully they'll play it and they'll do a video of it, because I want to spread it as much as I can, because this one, it's really, really well done. This is definitely the best work. This is the best one that I've done. This is the best game I've created by far. It's technically advanced. It's super fun to play. The music's there. The replay value's there. The quality, the graphics, the sound effects, everything is there that you want. This is like, it's not just Castlevania 3. This is like the ultimate 8-bit Castlevania of all time, I think. So, I know you guys are getting excited, but trust me, it's there and the wait will be worth it. So thanks a lot. Of course, hit the like button if you like the video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next weekend.